Hello chess friends, this is a game from the match between Dubov Daniel and Shakhriyar Mameryarov, and they're playing match of the 2 rounds with the starter time controlled. They finished the first game with a draw, and this is the second game. So Dani played as a white, so he opened the game with the knight to f3, Mameryarov continued with the knight f6, and then c4, c5. After that, knight goes to c3, d5, and then c captures to d5. So they play the green feld. This is the exchange variation with the d4. So knight capture on c3, b capture on c3 and g6, and black wants to make the fianchetto here with the bishop on g7 and then attack the pawn on d4. So white is creating a very strong center with the move e4, bishop to g7, and then bishop gives a check on b5. So knight goes to c6, and then it is time to make the castle. So both of them make the castle on the short side, and bishop to e3 support the pawn on d4. So bishop to g4. We have moved d5, attacks the knight, and knight goes to e5, attack the knight on f3, which cannot be moved because he's pinned. And then bishop needs to go back on e2 to support the knight on f3 square. So knight capture on f3, bishop capture f3, bishop capture f3, and then queen capture f3. So it looks like that black will be pawn up because he can capture on the c3 that will attack the rook. But look at this combination, rook goes to b1, attacks the pawn on b7, and after he play b6, then white can move the bishop, and that will attack the knight, attack the bishop here on the c3. So when he capture on c5, queen attacks the bishop on the square c3, and he need to do something with that bishop. Also he could capture, but that will create a weak pawn on the square c5, and black will probably lose this pawn very quickly because the rook goes to c1, and then it is not possible to defend the pawn on c5. So after bishop c5, he moves the rook on the square c8 because of the queen capture on c3. Black will capture on c5, but that did not happen in the game. And after rook goes to c8, he moves the bishop back to square e3, and then we have move queen to d7. White goes with the rook from f1 to c1 with the rook on the open file, and black played the move f5. He wants to attack a strong center of the white pawns, and the white play move g3, bishop moves back to f6, and then bishop goes to f4. Now white wants to pass with e pawn on the square e5 that will attack the bishop, and with the two strong pawns on the squares d5, white will threat many bad things for a black. So f capture on e4, after that queen capture on e4, and then we have queen to f5 for queens for trade, but queen goes to e6, gives the check, queen capture, pawn capture. And if we see the pawn structure, white is playing with the 4 pawns on the king side. So as you can see, he's playing with the majority 4 pawns against 3 pawns on the king side, but on the queen side we can see 2 pawns for black and 1 pawn for white. So black is playing with the pawn majority on the queen side. Let's see which one will be quicker. So black try with the move g5. He wants to attack the bishop, so bishop move back to square e3. So here's a one interesting line that the white can choose. So he can capture on the square c8, so rook will recapture, and then after rook c1, rook goes to d8. He could move the bishop on e3. This is the equal position for both of them, but that did not happen in the game. So after the move g5, he moves immediately bishop to e3, and then we have king to g7. It is time to bring the king into the center because we are very close to endgame, and king can be very useful in endgames. So white played g4, locked the pawn on the g5, which is a dark square, and both of them are playing with a dark colored bishop. So that can be good for a white in some kind of endgames. And here black played rook from f8 to d8. We have move a4. Idea for that move is to maybe to play a5, and that will attack the pawn on a7 from the bishop. So after that, black goes with h6. It is played king to g2, and then rook captures c1. rook captures c1 and rook goes to d5. He wants to attack the a pawn with the move rook a5 and then attack the pawn on a4. So king to f3 and rook a5. After that we have rook to c4. So bishop goes to e5 and then king goes to e4. After that king goes to f6. He tried to capture the pawn on e6 and also protect his bishop on square e5. So bishop goes to d2, attacks the rook, and here he could go back with the rook on a6, but after that this rook looks very passive here. Also he don't want to trade rooks on the square c5, because yeah, it is easy to attack that pawn after rook capture on c5 and be recaptured on square c5. So immediately here he played the move b5 that will attack the rook on c4, and then if a bishop capture on a5, black can capture on c4. So here a capture on b5 and then rook capture b5. So rook goes to a4, try to capture the pawn on a7, and then bishop moves back to b8 to protect the pawn. Rook goes to a1 and then king capture on e6. So white play here move h4. So it is clear that in this position black is playing with one extra pawn. That pawn is standing here in a7. So white recognized that he needs to do something special. So if he gives a check with the rook on a6, then a rook can easily block that with the move rook to b6. So he wants to make an attack on the king side and he play move h4, but it is possible to play h3 and still black need to spend a lot of energy to support his a7 pawn for advancing. So, but Dubov played the move h4, and after that g capture on h4. We have rook to h1, attacks h4 pawn. So rook e5 gives a check, king goes to d3, after that rook goes to d5 and king goes to c2, and it is time to trade the pawns, because when pawn standing on h6 he's an easy target for the bishop. And the black played move h5. After that rook capture on h4, h capture g4, rook capture g4 and bishop to d6. So this endgame is winning for black, but it is very hard to support a pawn, but black will try to do that. So let's see what happens. Rook goes to a4, attacks the pawn, bishop to c5, protect the pawn and also attack the pawn on f2. So f3 was played. After that bishop goes to b6 and we have bishop to c3 played, and then king goes to d7. After that rook to e4 and then we have bishop to c5, f4, and then king goes to c6. Both pawns are protected from the bishop on c5. So rook goes to a4. White will try to make more pressure on the pawns, and we'll see. So rook goes to h5, so king to b3, and then rook goes to h3. So now this bishop is pinned, and it would be nice if black can increase the pressure on the c3 with his bishop, for example on d4, but that square is controlled by the rook, so he cannot play this one because of the rook. And let's see, king goes to c4, and so rook goes to e3. After that we have rook a6, gives the check, so bishop blocks the check, and bishop to e5 was played. So rook goes to e1, wants to give some checks from behind to rook on c1. So rook a2 was played, and after that rook e4 gives the check, king d3, king goes to d5, protects the rook, and rook a6. After that rook a3 gives a check, so king needs to go down on d2 or c2. He chooses square d2. After that king to c4, and then rook goes to a4, give another check, king to b5, attacks the rook, rook goes down to a1, and rook to h3. So we have rook to f1, support his own pawn, on the square f4, and black played the move a6, wants to control f5. Here we have move bishop to b8, and after that rook goes to h8, attack that bishop, so bishop needs to go back on e5. Rook gives a check, on h2, king goes up to d3, and then rook give another check, king goes down. White is looking for move repetition by playing king d3, king d2, but now black will bring the king into the game, so he play with the king on c4. It is very important to use the king in the endgame, so he moves the king c4. After rook c1 gives a check, king goes to d5, and now black's idea is to make more pressure on the pawn on c4, so he will try to attack it with the king, bishop, and the rook. After that, rook goes to c8. We have king to e4, so now he tried to give a check and capture the pawn, but rook goes to e8, attacks the pawn on e7, and after rook to h6 protects the pawn, king goes to c3, and then it is time to play bishop e3 and attack pawn on f4. So rook goes to a8, and now if black capture on f4, bishop capture and king capture, rook a7. So this game will finish with the draw, because black cannot win this position. So after rook a8, we have move rook to h1, and then rook goes to e8. After that, rook goes to c1, gives a check, and black is controlling d2, d3, d4, and d5 squares. So white cannot use these squares, and he needs to go on a b file with his king. So king b3 was played. After that, rook to c6 protects the pawn. Now we have a rook to f8. Defend the pawn on f4. And after that, rook give another check on b6. So king c4 was played. Rook to c6 and king b3. So rook to b6 and then king c4. Black will of course not repeat the moves with the rook on c6, so he play move a5, and after rook to a8 he gives a check on c6, and when king goes to b3, and then he captures the pawn on f4. So if he capture on f4, king capture on f4, and then white king is catted, so white will probably capture the pawn here, but then black can just easily support e pawn for advancing, and in the end he will promote by creating a bridge with his rook using that rule, and that did not happen. After bishop capture on f4, white play bishop to c3, increase the pressure on a5 one more time. He wants to take that with the bishop or rook, but he also wants to keep the bishop on the board, so bishop to c7 was played, and then rook to c8. He wants to pin the bishop, and then black played move a4. Of course white cannot capture because the bishop is hanging. After that he played king to c2, and then black moved the king on e3. So white doesn't have good moves to play, because if he moves the rook somewhere, then black will just move the bishop on e5. That will pin the bishop on e3, so white will lose the piece. Or if he moves the king on a b2, then king goes to c3, and white need to move this bishop somewhere. For example, if he moves the bishop like f6 or b4 somewhere, then black can just easily give a check on e5 and then capture the rook. So after that, position is completely winning. But after the move king e3, the last move that black played, in this position Daniel Dubov resigned the game because there is no good move he can play. So that was the match between Dubov Daniel and Shakhriyar Mameryarov. In the first game they finished with a draw. The second one was won by the Shakhriyar, and the score is 1.5 for Mameryarov and half point for Dubov. So this is the tournament with the knockout system, and Dubov is out of the tournament after this game. So I hope that this game was instructive for you. If that is true, so please let me know that in the comment section below, and I hope you enjoyed this game analysis. See you in the next video. Bye bye.